just me, or is Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice the most overshadowed, overcoverage thing in film history? I mean seriously, you can't go a whole week without some new rumour, some new plot point, or some new casting member being announced for the film. There's rumours about it constantly, whether they end up being real or not. I think to myself, with all this coverage and rumours, what do we actually know? A few things. One, Ben Affleck is going to be playing Batman, along with the photos of the new Batsuit and Batmobile. Two, Jesse Eisenberg is playing Lex Luthor as one of the villains. 3. Batman and Superman will fight. And there will also be some stuff involving Cyborg and Wonder Woman. And 4. It's the platform for Justice League, hence the title. And even then, that doesn't really explain much. I mean, you had the obvious stuff we knew, like Zack Snyder was going to be directing, Henry Cavill will be returning, etc. But the point is, we don't have much information aside from the stuff I just previously mentioned, and more so. I know you think to myself, what is being done, but what can be done? What things can be done to this film to make it good? And where can they learn from the mistakes of Man of Steel? Despite me really liking Man of Steel, it does have some problems. Some of those problems they can actually learn from in order to make the new one even better. And that's what we'll talk about today. Now, this is just opinion based. If you disagree with any of my opinions, put down in the comments saying why, or if there's any other reasons you feel like this could be done better, or any other suggestions, please feel free to express them. Anyway, without further ado, this is the top 10 ways to make Batman vs Superman awesome! Number 10. Lighten up the tone. Okay, first of all, before you rush to the comments explain to me how DC has always been more darker than Marvel, let me explain. With Man of Steel, the dark tone was used in order to tell the story of Clark, who was going through tough times. He was pretty much told not to use his powers even though he wanted to help people. This gave him a good struggle between him and his father of what he should be doing. Plus it also used to focus on the drama of Park Kent, who has had to think about the consequences of what happens if Clark did reveal himself to the world. And for that particular story, that worked. However, now that all that has been resolved, now that Clark's revealed himself, I feel like that it's time for a slight change of scenery, if you know what I mean. For instance, now that Clark is doing the Daily Planet stuff, you can have some moments with him, some of the banter between the people who work there. You can have the relationship between him and Lois, lighten up the pace and lighten up the tone a little bit. And if Ben Affleck is going to do the over-the-top, drunk, crazy Bruce Wayne that some of the comics do him as, that can actually work with him and actually get some laughs. The point I'm trying to make is, I don't hate the dark tone from Man of Steel, I don't. I thought it was done really well, but it was done for a purpose, it was done for one particular story, but now that everything's over, I feel like the change is needed in order to make things, well, more fun. You're building a universe where you have tons of different characters with being overpowered gods, people in bat suits, and warrior women. And plus, you can only take that concept so far without making things too overly dramatic. I neither hate the dark tone enough to get rid of it, nor love it enough to want to keep it. I just want there to be some middle ground for the sequel now that everything's been resolved and you can just move on. So in short, keep the dramatic elements without going too bleak, and add in some light elements without going too OTT about it. Number 9. Don't put all efforts into future movie plans. It's no secret that this is going to be the launch pad for Justice League. But, here's the thing. That should not be the main focus, just to get to Justice League. I mean, at most, have the setup and the official beginning of the Justice League. Have it at the end. Have a scene where Clark and Bruce talk about their agreements and mutual friendship. and have that be the basis for the League beginning. And if it's true that the multiple heroes are going to be in it and play a prominent role, I'll get to that in a bit, have them appear at the end. But with that said, if you're going to focus on the Justice League, as the title would suggest, you don't really have much room to develop everything else. Whether it be the events after Man of Steel, or the events of this film, you won't have enough time to develop everything at once unless you extend it to a really long period of time. And plus, we usually came here just to see Batman and Superman. This is to develop their characters, and all the other ones around them, but the point is, if you're going to try to develop all the characters at once, you're just going to have a big mess in your hand where there's too many plots, all try to have relevance, all try to be fully developed, and you just have a big mess of stories. Save all the Justice League stuff for the end of the film. Establish the relations and the connections between Batman and Superman first, then do whatever you want in terms of Justice League. This is just a pathway, not the actual thing you're building up to. Number 8. Have a good reason for the heroes to fight. If you're going to bring in Batman, a character that may or may not have been established beforehand, and already exists in the world, you're going to need the development time to introduce him, and give him a good reason to be here in the first place. I mean, one way you could do this is have either him or Superman work for Luthor. Let me explain. It's pretty much clear that Superman will be helping the government out from time to time, given the fact that Metropolis is pretty much wrecked by General Zod. So Superman could help the government rebuild, and bring Luthor involved. Batman could think that Luthor and Superman are working together, of course a rivalry between the two. Or, even better, have Luthor and Bruce Wayne try to rebuild Metropolis, Luthor and Superman become enemies, and he brings Batman in to stop him. There! Boom! Two easy solutions that you can go one or either two ways. Other than just, we're not friends, or we're different. Give enough space and enough time to develop Superman after Man of Steel and this version of Batman, then further on build up to giving a good reason for them to fight. Number 7. Superman must save people. Now, before a fight in the comment section ensues, let me explain. Man of Steel had an inexperienced Superman, so he didn't actually have the skills to save everyone at once like he usually does in any other form of Superman story before this one. But with this one, it would probably be most likely set either a year or possibly 3 years or even more after Man of Steel. So you'd have a bit more experience in saving people. And also, like I mentioned number 10, it worked because of that one particular story. And also, look at all the shit he had to deal with in Man of Steel! Again, this isn't really gonna help much, but to Snack Cider, I'm just giving you one less reason for comic book fans to hate you so much. Number 6. Briefly establish this version of Batman. Putting aside the reasons for Batman to be in this film, that's kind of irrelevant since we don't know who this Batman is. And no, I'm not saying just retell the origin story that they did in Batman Begins. Pretty much anyone who's a fan of Batman or DC in general can tell you that story like the back of their hand. And that was before Batman Begins was even made! What I'm saying is, give us an idea of how he works. What are his skills? What are his gadgets? How does he operate? In the shadows? Who helps him? Alfred? Robin? Nightwing? Batgirl? Commissioner Gordon? And also, do people even know he exists? My advice, whatever way you go, whether you introduce Bruce Wayne first or introduce him after Batman, here's a good idea of how you should establish Batman whether Bruce Wayne gets introduced first. Have the first scene of Batman be an action sequence. Whether it be him trying to save a hostage, like in The Dark Knight Returns, or even just trying to beat up some thugs, for whatever reason. Show us what skills he has, what gadgets he has, and who he works with. Or hell, just if you want to do a stealth mission like, say, Arkham Asylum, show us how he operates. Like, how does he get by? Using his grappling hook, sneaking around the place, going through the vents, you name it. Whatever this version of Batman does, in terms of gadgets, how he fights, operates, and who he works with, you need to briefly establish that. Plus, an established Batman would be really helpful in terms of being Superman. I mean, Superman is pretty much a god, and Batman needs to be at the top of his game so he doesn't get the absolute shit kicking out of him by Superman. The origin story you can just worry through the dialogue, like the Tim Burton version did. Or if you are going to do flashbacks, just keep it like to 1, or maybe 2. Just don't go overboard and explain every little detail like Man of Steel did. Just keep the origins short and straight to the point, while also briefly establishing what this Batman can do. Number 5. No love triangles. Ever since Gal Gadot was announced as Wonder Woman, I have heard rumours non-stop that she would be the next love interest for Clark. And that makes no sense. Okay, say what you want about the relationship between Clark and Lois being rushed in Man of Steel, but in Batman vs Superman that would make a lot more sense because they've got a chance to know each other a lot more. But their friendship's born into a relationship. And hell, have more development towards that. Let that be the opening or somewhere in the middle. With that said, hooking them up with Wonder Woman may make sense in the comics, but with Man of Steel 2 it won't make any sense. Lois and Clark will have known each other for about 4, maybe even more so years. Wonder Woman will just pretty much coming straight to the picture, depending on what direction Snyder's going with. And Clark will most likely have just met her within the first week of this film's setting. Establish a friendship between them, sure, go ahead. But a relationship? No. Number 4. And now for the most redundant point on this list. All new heroes and characters must be relevant to the plot. You thought The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was crap because of the shoehorning the characters? Try Dawn of Justice, where it had 3 new heroes and 1, and maybe 2, but for the moment 4 new characters. I'll go into more detail on this in a bit, but Jesus Christ, 3 new heroes? Are you high? Okay, we already know that Superman's going to get more development from what happened in Man of Steel, and some development for this version of Batman. That's understandable, and with Wonder Woman, maybe you could fit her in and just keep on the down low. How are you going to fit in the other heroes? See, this is what everyone's been complaining about, especially with the new title announced, that all this is just a Justice League prequel and nothing else. But here's a way you could fix this. First of all, Cyborg. We all know that his dad is a scientist. Hell, that's how he handled all this stuff in the first place. So have his dad work for LexCorp. Just be a technician there who's in the background, who does stuff for the plot. Or hell, he could be the one who designed Lex Luthor's power suit. And maybe down the line introduce the son. Just briefly show the connections between him and his dad, and establish that for Justice League. Better yet, have the conversion between Cyborg's human form and robotic form be an end credit sequence. Yeah, have the Batman v Superman storyline go on, and then, when the credits are over, or halfway over, have him become Cyborg. As for Wonder Woman, have her either working for Bruce, trying to spy on Luthor, or have her work for LexCorp, try to do the same thing. Then at the end, you do some stuff with her by revealing her as an Amazonian, whether it be revealing himself to Bruce and Clark after they defeat Lex Luthor, maybe, or have it be another end credit sequence. Or how about this? You have the whole Batman v Superman storyline, have it go on throughout the whole film, finish, first end credit sequence in the middle, introduce Wonder Woman to the cast. Then the end one, introduce Cyborg. Done. Why am I not hired to write these films for Warner Brothers? Number 3. All plot points from Man of Steel must be resolved. This will cover everything from the end of the Man of Steel, from the destruction of Metropolis, the neck break, and everything else in between. So how do you develop after the end of Metropolis being destroyed? Well, for starters, since Superman is now in coalition with the government, on the basis that they both need to trust each other, have Superman help rebuild Metropolis. Lift up broken buildings, fix all the stuff that him himself destroyed. And if they're going to take influences from The Dark Knight Rises, as clearly the suit shows, take the elements of the media, or where you have interviews from people on the street and the talk shows discussing about why Batman is or isn't a good person to have around, but switch it to Superman and have him fixing the buildings be a reason to have him around. There! Sorted! The relationship between those? Well, it's been most likely around, what, 3 years since the first film, so around that point they will have been a bit more of a relationship than they were in the first film. Finally, the neck break. This is something fans have commented about to death. But yet again, in Man of Steel there was no other option for Superman to do other than kill Zod. Trust me, I've done a video where I talked about this. So if fans really want the proper version of Superman, have the core element of the story be as a new threat in town other than Batman that just won't stop destroying shit, and have the main focus of the battle be Superman trying to find a way of stopping this villain without killing him. You know, Warner Brothers, if you're still looking for a writer other than Zack Snyder, I'm free if you really want me to. Given the absolute mess that is your news coverage, new writers, you're gonna need it. Number 2. Have an experienced Batman in the fight. In this corner, with a belt full of gadgets such as bombs, batarangs, smoke grenades, etc., we have Batman! And in this corner, with the ability to fly, shoot lasers from his eyes, super strength, and all that other stuff, we have Superman! Wow, Bruce, your chances do not look good in this. Yeah, as I previously mentioned, in order to take down something as indestructible and powerful as Superman, you're going to need someone with a good amount of skills in order to get him by. You need the right skills, you need the right weapons, etc. And if this is going to be a Batman origin story like it was in Batman Begins, there's no way that Bruce is going to win. Superman is going to, well, how to put this? This is a visual representation of what Clark would do in the first half of the film if he ends up winning. Yeah, the bookies aren't exactly throwing all their money on you, aren't they, Bruce? This is why I suggested that the first thing we see Batman do is do an action scene, to give us a good example of all his skills, his weapons, and all that other stuff. That way, we can see what he has in terms of beating Superman and what new methods he can come up with. And also show him in the Batcave a few times to show that he is smart, and show that he is capable of coming up with ways to get out of situations. I mean, hell, if the Sherlock Holmes films can do that, perhaps they can. Have him figure out what to do in each fight, like an inner monologue or any other suggestion like that. Sure, give him new stuff along the way, like the armoured bat suit, a new Batmobile even, or anything like that. Just basically the point of it all, you need an already experienced and skilled Batman in order to take Superman on his own. Then, afterwards, give him more stuff and be able to give him more of a fighting chance. That way, so the Justice League doesn't have a member in a wheelchair throughout the rest of their franchise. That way, so Bruce doesn't get his back broken, so Bane doesn't get his chance to have a go at him. And the number one way to make Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice awesome... Enough characters, DC! Oh, I'm not just talking about the new ones that they added. No. I'm talking about the whole entirety of this film. The characters left over from Man of Steel and the new ones that DC have added. I mean, let's think about the ones we have so far. These are the characters we have so far. Okay, decent lineup. Now let's look at the ones that they've added into Man of Steel 2. Jesus Christ! How can you focus on that many characters at once? I mean, don't get me wrong, I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but even that failed with that many characters. And plus, all the plots you have is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you have the plot involving Lex Luthor and Superman and the government trying to rebuild Metropolis. But you can't focus on that because you have to focus on the stuff with Batman. But you can't focus on Batman because you have all that to do all the stuff with Superman and Lois. But you can't focus on that because you have to figure out how to get Wonder Woman into the story. But you can't focus on that because you need to figure out how Cyborg and his dad are part of the story. You can't do that because of... Oh God, I'm coming up part of the scenes. Good God. How do I fix this? I said it before and I'll say it again. And it's also something that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 did, and yet still managed to cock up. Keep the roles minor for most cases. Like I said, keep the roles minor, but make sure they still focus on the plot. Or, if you just want to do what Marvel does, have all these scenes involving the other heroes be end credit ones. But keep all the Man of Steel characters in the main story, along with Batman, Alfred, and Lex Luthor. And possibly Wonder Woman if you want to have her be like a spy agent spying on Wayne Enterprises or LexCorp. That's it. Just keep those ones focused on the plot. Then have the rest be end credit sequences. Or at the very, 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 very end. Whew. So there you go. The top 10 ways to improve the Justice League franchise and to make Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice awesome. I just hope that DC at least learn something from this video and at least follow one. If they at least incorporate one of those rules I made into the actual film, I feel like my time has not been wasted at all. I just hope they do not repeat any of the mistakes that they have done recently or break any single of these